Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is Mark Roden. And in today's video, we're going to be going over the good, the bad, and the ugly on the Datsun 240, 260, 280Z, the Nissan Fairlady Z S30, whatever you want to call it, okay? The first generation of the Nissan Datsun Z cars, okay? Because somebody said they wanted to see it. Really random one. Usually, like, people do cars that, like, are, like, affordable, like, reliable cars. And this was the one that, you know, I was happy to make. I love talking about Zs. Any Z I get to talk about is a happy mark, you know? But it was just a surprise, is all. But yeah, today is the 240, 260, 280Z, and in case you don't know how these videos work, is first off, I go over every little piece of information you need to know about the car, trim levels, you know, maybe how much it's going to be, how reliable it is, etc., etc. Then I go over what the community tends to do in terms of modifying them. Then we finally get into the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we'll go over that when we get there. And then at the end of the video, I tell you whether or not I think you should buy the car, depending on the current situation that you are in. My phone is ringing, but song of the day is called ADHD by Kendrick Lamar. If you've ever played GTA 5, you probably know this song, but it's a classic. It's a banger. Go give it a listen. Alright, but like I said, the first thing we need to talk about is just the basic info about this car, you know, things you need to know before buying yourself a 240, 260, 280Z, okay? First off is the years made and the generation. It was made between the years 1969 to 1978, which is, you know, a 9-year runtime, but it did have 3 different models there, the 248Z, 260Z, and 280Z, so keep that in mind. Pretty much the two first numbers of the car is the size of the engine. So 240Z is a 2.4, 260 is a 2.6, 280 is a 2.8. But we'll get into that right now real quick. The trim levels. 240Z comes with a 2.4 liter inline 6, and that one makes 151 horsepower. The 260Z comes with a 2.6 liter inline 6, and that one makes 162 horsepower. So 11 more, not bad. And the 280Z comes with a 2.8 liter inline 6, and that one makes 170 horsepower. Pretty much, I might ruffle some feathers with this one, but pretty much the higher you go, the better the car. Okay, if you get a 280Z, it's the best of the bunch. The 240Z is the worst of the bunch. Sorry. Body styles, though, the car is available as a 2-door coupe or a 2+2 coupe. There is some 2+2 options out there, but those are kind of not few and far between. And realistically, the back seats are pretty much useless anyways. You could probably fit like maybe a gopher back there, but you're not even going to fit like an armadillo in that back seat. He'll even be uncomfortable. So drivetrains, the car is rear wheel drive only. This is a 60s 70s, folks. There is no all-wheel drive variants of these cars, and that's a good thing, gosh darn it. Transmissions, from 1971 forward, so from 1971 to 1978, they had a 3-speed auto, but that was completely useless. So the majority of these are going to be manuals, and you're going to want the manual anyways. Okay, like a 3-speed automatic transmission from the 70s, you'd have better luck reaching your hand down into the freaking transmission yourself and shifting the gears with your bare hands. Like, it would be, the 3-speed auto is absolutely useless in the 70s. As for the price, these cars obviously range drastically. You can get like a absolute piece of crap 280Z with like no title. Like, this thing has no interior. It's got mice doing the nay in the back seat of it the entire time for like $5,000. However, I would say for like a clean example of a nice 240, 260, or 280Z, you're looking at like $20,000 nowadays. They are expensive cars, but I mean, they're a 70s car, man. At this point, what 70s, 60s sports car isn't expensive? You know, it's honestly $20K isn't even that bad when you look at some of like the 60s and 70s muscle cars, how much they're going for. Like $20,000 is not that big of a deal. As for the reliability and the gas mileage, it's definitely not the most reliable out there. Obviously, even if you were living in the 60s, 70s era and this car came out, it still was not the most reliable car in the world. It was a sports car. It's not supposed to be. But now the car is, you know, 50 freaking years old, almost 60. So like, yeah, it's gonna obviously have a lot of problems. It's not a reliable car. It only does get 18 miles per gallon combined either, which is also very bad. It's not a daily driver. Clearly, it's not a daily driver. Alright, but now let's get into what the community tends to do in terms of modifying these. When a car guy picks one up, what do they do, you know? Well, as for the drifting scene, You see them sometimes, but very rarely, but they are seen. You know, I mean, you'll see a couple guys out there sliding around in 240s, 280s. They're almost always completely swapped though. Different tranny, different engine, different interior, different suspension, different absolutely everything. They just like the body style of it, which is fine. As for the rally / off-road community, the car was surprisingly used for rally racing when it came out, because it was big back then, rally racing. But it's not like a popular application. It's not like a good rally car. It's just, it was used back then. As for the street racing community, definitely not. There's no real point for street racing a 240Z, and it really can't fit that many big tires underneath it either, which is a big thing. They would much rather just have, if they're going to take like a Japanese sports car chassis, they're going to take like an S chassis. They're not going to take a 240Z. It just doesn't really make much sense for them. They like to just go fast in a straight line, and this car is not really meant for that. As for the track racing community, this is definitely the car's most popular application. The car is very lightweight, it's very grippy, and yeah, people like to slide these things around corners. They're more suited for things like autocross rather than like full length tracks, you know, but yeah, I mean, they like it. If you like taking corners and stuff like that, canyon carving, all that mumbo jumbo, it's a good car for you. As for the stancing and show guys, the guys just build the cars up to make them look good and then park them in a parking lot and take pictures for their Instagram buddies. This is seen a lot, and it makes sense. I mean, they're really good-looking cars. Almost, even if you don't really like Japanese cars, chances are you're going to look at a 240Z and be like, that's a cool car. They just look good. So yeah, it makes sense why people buy them, build them up to make them look even better, and then just go to car shows and stuff with them. And it also just makes sense in the sense where it's like, if you're going for performance, there are a lot of better options out there anyways. So yeah, keeping a nice little relic like this, nice and clean and upkept, is a good idea. I think it's fine. Most of the time when I like talk about the stance and slow show guys, if like we're talking about like an S2000 or something, I'm like, are you kidding me? You know, just drive it. That's a fun car. But for this car, yeah, it's just so old at this point. Yeah, turn it into a cool car. All right, but now we're into the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the way this works is first I'm going to go over the good, which are things that are just really good about the car. They're selling points on the car. A salesman would have told you this back in the 70s. And then we go over the bad, which aren't actually bad. It's just a fun play on words. The bad is more of a middle ground area where it's like, okay, that could affect you, or it could not. You know, it's up to you 100%. And then we get into the ugly, which are just genuine problems with the car. But let's start with the good. First off is these are super respected cars amongst enthusiasts. Some people care about what other enthusiasts think about them. And if you're one of those people, yeah, I mean, this car you will almost never get like somebody that's like, you idiot, I hate you, look at you dumb idiot with a 240Z. Like, no one's gonna say that, you know. That's like, people do that with like VQs and WRXs and Mustangs. Like, it's not happening with 240Z. Next is the looks. Yeah, obviously I know this is personal opinion. Somebody could look at it and be like, I don't think it looks good. I really feel like you're going to be hard struck to find somebody in 2025 that looks at a 240Z and says it's not a good looking car though. Like, yeah, that's the reason. Normally I would put this into bad, but it's one of those cars where there's an exception, you know. No one's going to say a 240Z looks bad. Next is the aftermarket support for this car is pretty freaking high. I mean, they've been a sports car for 50 years. So yeah, a lot of companies make a lot of parts for these cars, so you can, the sky's the limit with the 240Zs. Next is the community behind them is also really good. First of all, not only are you indicted into the Nissan Z community if you want to be a part of that community, but also the 240Z, 260Z, 280Z community themselves are super tight knit. There are a lot of older guys, and I'm sorry, I don't want to bash younger folks. I know I got a lot of younger folks that watch my videos and everything, but chances are once you start to mature a little bit, you'll probably want to be in a community with older guys because they're knowledgeable and more calm and don't get you into trouble and things like that. It's a more fun community, more relaxing and enjoyable the community to be a part of, in my opinion. That's not me saying I don't like, you know, hanging out with the young folks at the car meets and stuff like that. They're cool too, and I love their rowdiness. You know, I love watching them do their donuts and stuff. That's cool. But I think I'd rather be in like a community like this one. Next is the car is only going to rise in price, so they are absolutely a good investment, especially if you find one that's clean and you keep it clean. Next is the car's history and impact on the car world is absolutely undeniable. It's one of the first ever true Japanese sports cars, and obviously Japanese sports cars are one of the most popular sports cars in the car community right now, so obviously it's a pretty impactful car. Next is the car is rear-wheel drive. I like that. Now I understand sometimes I put this into bad if it's like a modern car, but I really don't think there's going to be most people out there that live in like a winter setting and are like, oh, should I buy a 240Z and drive it every day? Like, I don't think that's going to be happening, so I'm not putting that in the bad. Next is the car actually has decent engine space. It is a small car, but look at the front of this thing, man. It's a long front end. You can fit some good engines in there. Next is the car is also easy to work on. It kind of ties into the last one, but yeah, with decent engine space means that it's not the hardest car to work on. On top of all of that, it's an old car, not as many wiring and electronics and stuff like that. And that's really 9 times out of 10 the kicker right there is the electronics and all the modern mumbo jumbo that drives mechanics crazy when working on new cars, and old cars don't really have that stuff. And finally, for the good is handling and the weight of the car. As we will find out, these cars aren't very good anymore in terms of driving it on the street, but it will never not be a good option for racing. They were built purebred race cars from factory, and they still are to this day. If you like canyon carving, if you like autocross, if you like things like that, this is 100% still to this day a good option for you. They're just good sports cars. As a matter of fact, it just gets better and better as time goes on because cars are just getting heavier and heavier, and I don't think car manufacturers are understanding that in order to have a fun little canyon carving monster, autocross monster, whatever you want to call it, it needs to be light, and these cars are lightweight. But now let's get into the bad. And like I said before, I like to make this very clear in every single one of these videos, but people do not understand. You know what community surprisingly doesn't understand English the most? I'm sorry to say it. The Toyota community, dude. Every time I make a good, bad, and ugly about Toyotas, they think all the bads are like me coming at their freaking necks, and I'm like, this car sucks. But it's not. I'm just literally just saying things that I read online from forums and customer reviews and common problems with these cars and putting them in the bad if there's something that it might affect you, but some of them might not. Like, for example, the first one in the bad is always the sound. I always put this here first because it's obviously 100% personal preference. I don't think they sound good per se, but they also don't sound bad. So here's a clip of a 240Z. Next up is the car is super old, so it's not very comfortable, obviously. Again, this is why it's in the bad, because it's something where it's like, yeah, obviously this is a bad thing for somebody like my mother, you know, like my mom isn't going to want to buy this car, but for somebody like me or you that knows this already going into it, we don't really care if the car is comfortable. It's going to be our track car, it's going to be our weekend warrior, whatever it is going to be. So yeah. Here it is. It's an old car, so it's not comfortable. Next up is the car does have very small cabin space as well. If you're a taller gentleman, you might not really have the most headroom or leg room. And I know that doesn't sound too bad, and it isn't usually too bad if it's a weekend warrior type car. But if it's going to be your daily driver, I really don't think anybody out there is going to turn their 240Z into a daily. But if it is going to be your daily, keep that in mind. Next is also it has small cargo space. It's just got small space all around, I guess. Yeah, it's a 70s car. What do you expect to fit like 17 freaking suitcases in there? You're an idiot. Next is the car is not very safe either. It's yet again a 70s car. I believe this is before freaking seatbelts were even not recommended, but what's the word I'm looking for? Were standard in cars. This was before seatbelts were standard in them. No, that's not even the word I'm looking for either. It's like legal, whatever that word is. Anyways, I'll get back to that. Next up is the car is very underpowered for straight line performance. Again, we've already talked about this. You probably don't really care about that, though, if you're looking at 240Zs. Next up is the car does not really have any cup holders. Yeah. Again, just another reason why it's a bad daily driver. Next up is the car is not cheap to maintain. Hey guys, guess what? Just another reason why it's not a good daily driver. But yeah, no, it's an old car. Parts are going to be harder to find for it than a regular car would be. And parts are going to break more often than a regular car would be. Next up is the car is not cheap to buy in the first place, which is obviously also not a great thing. Obviously, yes, you can find like a beat up piece of crap one for $5,000, but then you're going to have to spend a bunch more money on it anyways to get it good and running. And so it's really like whatever. Next up is the car is not very good in gas. 18 miles per gallon, like we mentioned earlier, is not the best out there. Next up is one of the worst possible options for a daily driver. Here it is. This is what we've been alluding to this whole video. Yeah, it's an absolutely awful daily driver, man. I'm just gonna put it out there right now. It's bad. If you are thinking about buying a 240Z, 260Z, 280Z for a daily, no. Honestly, I know people hate me saying this, but if you're going to buy a Z car as a daily, 350Z, 370Z, if you have the money to afford it, a new Nissan Z. Like, these are not these are not the ones that you should be daily driving. If you're watching this in the 60s, if you somehow figured out how to teleport, or time travel, I should say, then yeah, maybe, but as of right now, no. And finally, for the bad is it pretty much has no creature comforts. It's got a barely working radio. Rarely do these cars have AC. They have no power steering. There's no airbags. They have crank windows. They're uncomfortable seats. There's pretty much no space in them, etc., etc., etc. There is, if you like people think like, oh, I love that analog style. It is cool, again, for like a weekend warrior vehicle, but it will get frustrating pretty quickly, and I just want people to understand that. Like, don't go into this car thinking like, oh, well, other car guys do it, I mean, it means I can. Dude, be honest with yourself. If you're a guy that likes to be comfortable when driving around in your car, this might not be the best option for you. All right, but now we're into the ugly. And like I said before, uglies are just genuine problems with the car, things you're probably going to have to address if the previous owner didn't already. First off is the bad fuel pump issues that these cars have. Now, there are a lot of problems with this car, and we're going to get into those in a couple seconds, but this is one that really stood out. A lot of people were saying these cars have fuel pump issues. It kind of makes sense, especially if the car's been sitting for a long time. These things can get clogged. It makes sense, but I don't really know if this is because the car had a bad fuel pump or if it's because of age. I'm leaning towards the side that this car was probably, most of the people that are experiencing fuel pump issues are experiencing it because of its age, which we're going to get into in a second anyways. Next, really ugly though, is the automatics are horrible. I already mentioned this, but yeah, do not buy the freaking automatic 280Zs. I mean, what are you doing? That's all absolutely ridiculous idea. And finally, for the ugly, is all the problems that will come with a car that is this old. Yeah, there it is. There's going to be a lot of them. There's going to be horrible rust. There's going to be leaks in all kinds of areas. There's going to be all kinds of wiring problems. There's going to be all the seals are going to be leaking. There's going to be all the rubbers are going to be need to be replaced, and pretty much literally everything else that can go wrong with age is probably going to go wrong with age on this car. I mean, they're literally 50 years old, guys. Okay, so unless you're buying one that's literally been like completely well kept, maybe even a resto mod example of a 240Z, you're probably going to experience a lot of these issues, and you know, that's okay. Most of these issues aren't things that are like the worst and end all be all problems with these cars, but if you experience like multiple of these, that's when it starts to get to the point where it's like, wow, okay, this car is really seeing its age. Guys, I finally just thought of the word that I was thinking of when I was talking about the seat belts. This car was built before the seat belts were mandatory or required by law. Yeah, that's right. I looked it up, I was like, when were seat belts? And then it came up with like the little options below, and it was like, yeah, required by law, mandatory. And so I was like, okay, yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Either way, final thoughts. Do I think you should buy a 240Z, 260Z, 280Z? Well, let's go over each individual like person and their scenarios. As for the people that are looking for just a daily driver, you do not care at all about cars. You literally just want something to get you from point A to point B. You don't care if it's the ugliest car in known demand. Absolutely not. Obviously not. If you were even thinking about this, what is wrong with you? It is the worst option probably in the world for you, actually. You would probably be better off just, I was going to say buying a horse, but obviously you'd be better off buying a horse. You'd be better off buying a slightly larger than normal dog and putting a saddle on that and riding it to work and just hoping that it gets there than driving like that. This is not a good option. As for the car guys that are looking for daily drivers, obviously we are different from regular people looking for dailies. We tell ourselves and we tell our family, yeah, we're just going to get a nice car that's going to get us from point A to point B. But in the back of our minds, we know that nice car is going to have some sporty aspects to it. Still not a good idea for us either, though. It's just, even a modern Z isn't really the best idea for us. That's why G35s and G37s exist and Q50s. But this has obviously got way too many problems to be a good option for a car guy looking for a daily. As for the people looking for Sunday cruisers, though, they're just going to take them out once a week and keep good care of them, maybe sell them in 10 years for profits. For sure, this is finally a car that actually fits the mold for a daily Sunday cruiser, in my opinion. Most of my good, bad, and uglies, I almost always say no for the Sunday cruisers because usually you're doing them on cheaper cars. And that doesn't really make much sense for me. But for a car like this, yeah, especially if you find one that's in good condition, you want to keep it that way. Yeah, putting it in your garage, driving it once a week, just enjoying it on the weekends, maybe going on a little cruise up in the mountains, makes sense. As for the people looking for a race car or a project car, though, 100%. These things can be absolutely super fun little track cars, like I already said, and people do this all the time for a reason. Buy a shell, put a K-Series in it or something, and just make it a track weapon, and you will have so much freaking fun. Like, I mean, I have one, so, don't take everything I'm saying 100% seriously here, but I guarantee, like, I'm not a betting man, but I'd be willing to bet that I'd be smiling from ear to ear if you put me in just like a 240Z with literally just like 300 horsepower. That's all it needs. And just like put me on an autocross track. I'd be like, yoo-hoo, yippee, wow. I'd be like Wario and Luigi, or Mario and Luigi, whatever their names are. I'd be like them. I'd be so happy. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of today's video on the Datsun 240, 260, 280Z, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more content ideas. Let me know what other videos I think in the comment section down below. And yeah, obviously, I mainly do recommendations when it comes to good, bad, and ugly. So if you guys want to see a certain car in a good, bad, and ugly, leave a comment, you big dingleberry. Okay, leave a comment, or else this big dingleberry probably won't do it. All right. probably won't. The 240Z was an interesting comment. I was not expecting it. So whoever recommended the 240Z, thank you. It was a nice one. I actually kind of like to talk about cars that it's like, I don't get to talk about 240Zs, 260Zs, 280Zs pretty much at all on this channel. Like, I maybe have mentioned them like 3 videos. Like, it's just not a car I get to talk about that much, so it was cool to talk about. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. Das Vidania, and have a nice night.